Hi, Vera, and hello, everyone, and thank you and welcome back to Mindful Ways for another animal talk. Today, we are going to talk about animal trauma, which is not typically a nice subject to talk about, but I think it is an important subject to talk about. Vera has lots and lots of experience in this particular area with helping animals through trauma. We're going to link that a little bit in with Benji in the background. We're going to link that in a little bit with how as humans we deal with trauma and what we can learn from our animals when it comes to trauma, and then bringing that back then to the present moment and living in the now as well. So Vera, how are you today?
I'm well, a bit tired, but I'm good.
I know, I feel you. This full moon, this full strawberry moon has been messing with me for sure.
Probably with me too.
Yeah, and it's all temporary, so we just have to wait for it to pass, don't we, and allow it to kind of flow through us and allow those changes to happen inside of us. Okay, so animals and trauma. So I know that you've got when you got Benji first, for example, he was already traumatized, and this does happen with a lot of animals that have been rescued. So I think we're going to find that there'll be lots of people viewing this video who have rescued animals that were traumatized when they did get them, or at least the animal shelter did some work with the animals to help the animals through their trauma before they were then rehomed. So what was your experience of that, Vera?
Well, I'll tell a little background on Benji. And that's something I found out also through animal communications and things that he has shown me. As a 6-week-old puppy, he was, and that was out of view when people just weren't watching that kid, was picked up by that child in the wrong way, and he fell. So that's a sure thing that he lost already trust in people. Probably around 8 weeks, he went to his first owners after the breeder. And they worked in a very prestigious hotel. And he basically raised himself to be the bad boy. He was already insecure, misunderstood. He got training on, and I know it's not the way that it's now theoretically processed, but he was, they said he was helped for dominant aggression.
Okay.
So that's a misunderstanding, because I found out when I had him that he was not aggressive, but very, very insecure. Then at 4 years of age, he was rehomed because his owners went back to their own country. He couldn't come along. So he went to, and I know them, I know also the reason why they also rehomed him. And he had something, those cats, because they had cats, strange creatures. So he would have focus on them, but not in an aggressive way. He just wanted to know, what are they?
Curiosity.
But the dog that was already there, also a Bernese Mountain Dog, was raised with the cats, and she protected them. So in the house, when she saw Benji, her eyes completely went red and attacked him. So they rehomed Benji because, you cannot keep the dog that came in last and rehome your own. So then he went to another one, They found out also that he had a problem controlling the young boy that was the grandchild that was crawling, and that was in a dangerous way. And they said,
Mhm.
I don't have the time at that time to take it to help him through it.
Mm.
He got to a young couple, and there he got somehow mistreated, abused, and that's something that came through in letting him talk what it was. It came out that the man of the house would hit him with a stick or with a baseball bat when he wouldn't listen. So that's a big, all throughout, big misunderstanding. And in the time period when he left, was rehomed by the first owners in February, on his close to his birthday,
Mm.
to the time I got him end of August, he had 3 owners in between.
Bless him.
And yeah, throughout all that, when he came to me, he was told he was going to stay over for the night, just a visit. Well, guess what? When I started walking and he realized he was not going to be picked up, he went in a full on aggression mode. He blew up, and we had a really nice walk, and I was about over an hour walk away from home. Walking 2 dogs, one I could let off leash, she always stayed close. And I literally had to half carry him, that's how close I had to keep him, to be able to, keep control over him.
Yeah.
So we came back home, and I said, when I had him almost 2 weeks, I said, I need to know, the first week, how he experienced his life with all the
Sure.
previous owners. And all that, I didn't want know anything what happened, just how he experienced it. We went through, I had someone else did the talking with her, that he was allowed to talk, that was already frightening. When she said, okay, we're gonna start, he was like from under the table, a big dog tried to crawl in my lap. So scared. So that tells me that was already a sign, he never got to express his voice. He was always controlled because he was such a big dog and he was aggressive. And the aggression was purely insecurity, fear-based, misunderstood, and put that on a child. When a child gets misunderstood, cannot express about their feelings, they're gonna be like hitting and screaming for attention. That's what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was literally like, it was so bad. Oh my God, inhumane. And that animal communicator, when we were done, said one thing. I am amazed. Usually I just get pictures. So I have to try to translate what they show me. He used full sentences.
Wow.
And yes,
Was
it
that the
helped.
first time that you had an animal that spoke to you in full sentences then? Was it? It was just so clear.
Well, at that time, I didn't even know I was able to communicate myself.
Okay.
I doubted myself, so I had someone that did the communication. Because sometimes when you're that close, can be really difficult, and it's also a process for the animal. Sometimes you need support from the outside, and then after that, and I should have saved that, and maybe I'll send it to you as a thumbnail. That day after,
Mm.
a 4.5 year dog, when you looked at his face, you saw a puppy. He never got past the experience from what happened to him when he was 6 weeks old. And yes, they live, animals live in the now, but the behavior they show you can still be like all the traumas coming out. They're not understood.
Well, it's interesting because as human, just thinking out loud, as humans, we hide our unconscious a lot. So, what we've been taught to do is to get along with it and suppress the unconscious. Whereas with animals, you can very clearly see their unconscious comes to the surface every single time. So, and we spend so much time as we get to a certain point in our lives where we know that the unconscious has grown so big that it's overflowing. So, all of those things, all of those traumas, all of those things that are not healthy, those coping mechanisms, etc., that are not healthy, we have to deal with it. So it's almost like we leave it until we have to deal with it. Whereas animals, you can see with them very clearly what those issues are, and then you can deal with those issues.
And sometimes it's not even clear.
Okay.
Because Benji had taught himself to be a bad boy.
Okay.
And that was seen as aggressive dominance.
So that was his coping mechanism that was misunderstood. And that does happen with us as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
And every single time, and he sometimes just, when I put a post up at a animal communicating site, he pulled in someone like, I have a message for my mommy.
Oh.
So then he talked, and he was so adamant. He wanted to behave like the good, nice, friendly dog he was inside, the caring dog. And all he said, I don't know. And you could feel the emotion of him. I don't know how.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because only bad behavior brought him attention. Like you walk outside and he would get in the most filthiest mud pools, because what happened always was like, oh, he's filthy, he needs to be cleaned. Well, so when he got dirty, he did get the attention he needed. And he needed to know I didn't give an F if he was dirty or not. So I bought some good boots because I needed to get in the same kind of mud piles. And he was like in front of you. The naughtiness. You see me? I'm getting the. I got in that mud pile, grabbed the mud, and threw it all over. I said, I don't care if you get. I even rubbed that mud in. It broke that cycle. I went home. Well, you wanted to get dirty. Fine. I'm not going to bathe you. It'll dry and we'll just brush it off. And his fur was like, when it was dry, you just had to comb through and he was completely clean. But from that moment on, he started to change his behavior. Yep. He didn't stop because he just loved the water and the mud and the filth. And we're going home and look. Well, buddy, you look real dirty. And he could get as dirty that you could only see dirt and no more white. He was like, looked up, looked to the side, and there was a ditch with a lot of pretty clean water. He dove in, started to splash around, came out, looked up. I said, you did a good job. You're a lot cleaner. And just that acknowledgement can help an animal change. I gave him choices. Most people don't. Most people are conditioned. You gotta tell an animal exactly what you need from him. Well, yes, you got it. But when you start giving the animal a choice by that's what something I warned him with. You could see it come when he would act up, being that spoiled brat. I said, Benji, you can now choose to be a good boy and stop that pushing behavior, or you're going to get a time out on your bed until you calm down. Well, especially in the beginning, he would end up on his bed and you could see him sit like, and I told him when he was sitting there, Benji, when you think you can behave, you can get off the bed, off your bed. And that was the most funny part because, yes, of course, when a dog starts to learn how to behave, he got off the bed, all of a sudden, walked a few steps. He was like, he started to jump back on his bed, sat there, then calmed down. He slid off his bed and went to sleep on the floor.
Oh. You can literally see, can't you? You can see the cogs turning in their heads, when a change is happening or when their owner reacts in a different way to the way that they expect them to. It is so fascinating. Did you have something else you wanted to say there? Because I was going to pick up on a couple of things.
The thing is, what I did in the beginning, because he was completely out of balance.
Yeah.
There was one song, and that was so beautiful. When I put that one on, you could literally see him sit. And that was Amazing Grace. You put that on, and sometimes I just try to sing along with it, and then he would give me the eye. Really? But I played Amazing Grace. So when he didn't know how to act or was still stressed, I played that song. Also meditation, deep meditation music on all his chakras and balancing and trauma. And you could literally, and I do see the energies, I could literally see him bathing in that healing music.
Mm.
And then you start to see, and yes, they don't live in the past, but they still need the healing.
Yeah.
Because their past, how they have been traumatized, comes through in the behavior at that current moment. So if he got flustered with an overload of stimulation, he hadn't learned how to walk away and calm down. He would just explode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 110 lbs, 55 kilogram dog that blows up like an atomic bomb. And yes, I had 16 years experience in the horses, and I had daily occurrences that I thank the universe I had that experience. Because if you are able to control an out of control horse, and yes, it sounds crazy, but I needed that experience to be able to keep him with me when he exploded. And yes, sometimes I was just skiing behind him, wet grass, because if he saw a dog he didn't like or he got insecure from, he would, that was the bad boy behavior he had learned, attack before you get attacked.
Yeah. Do you know, I see that, actually, I've seen that recently. An animal attacked Rosie.
I'm sorry.
And I didn't know that the dog had, the last time it was socialized on the beach, and it was attacked by another dog. So it retaliated. And it hadn't been socialized with dogs since then. And
that's the owner trauma. Scared shit, they're gonna attack again, and they keep them away. And every time they see a dog, they tense up, and then it happens again and again and again.
Yeah. And I don't think the dog is a bad dog. When I see that dog, I think that dog really wants to play. That dog wants to relate.
Did you see the dog walk away with an attitude like, with a little bit in the energy of, I didn't want to do that. Because when she had those episodes, usually when he got home, and that's the trauma.
Yeah.
He would come to me and he was literally like, he crawled in me. And sometimes I could even see a tear in the corner of his eyes. He didn't want to behave like that.
Bless him. Well, the other thing that interests me is when I see that dog outside being walked, it doesn't stop to sniff anything. It doesn't, because to me, a natural tendency for an animal is to be curious. And so when I see an animal that's not being curious, I think, there's trauma there. There's something that animal needs help with. And
I'm getting chills.
Yeah, see, one of the attitudes of mindfulness is curiosity. It's beginner's mind. I use the word curiosity because now what I've learned from mindfulness is to just be curious and find ways of being curious. And if there's something that I'm passionate about, that's why I'm here. It's something that I'm passionate about, or subjects that I'm passionate about, I'll read about them, I'll watch videos, I can't get enough. So for me, that's the way forward in life, is finding your passions and being curious. And I see the same in animals. I mean, Rosie's a nightmare because she will stop and sniff every 2 seconds on a walk. But
she's teaching you to calm down.
As we spoke about, it's important. They pick up so much from sniffing and smelling, and they get information. For them, that's their passion, and then that's their curiosity. So we have to allow them to be able to do that.
And if that happens, I mean, eventually they get tired, and then they look up, and that's the moment the owner can take control over the walk. Let's go. And you just start walking. When she starts sniffing, just stand on that, go to that spot, take it over. Because
unless she starts eating stuff, I mean, she does eat. I have to watch what she's doing. Sometimes I do have to go, right, come on, leave that. moving on. But yeah, for the most part, it's allowing them.
I even think at that point of time,
Yeah.
they lose for a second, for a couple of minutes, the right to sniff on their own. They want to eat, boom, out of there. Literally like that. And be adamant. And when she starts to listen again, and that type of training literally saved my dog's life.
Really? Wow.
Area where I came from, and when they couldn't get me, they tried to get my animals. And if you have those beef things, dogs are crazy about. That was placed on the side of the road. He knew he was not allowed to take it, but hey, he got it in his mouth. And he threw it out. Because also he's experienced a couple of times how he felt really high after taking a little bit that was placed on the street, on our path.
Okay.
Yep. Drugs. Probably they put in drugs. And when the animal ODs, but they forgot one thing. He's a big guy. And if I had any idea he would have that kind of substance in him, he would get meat soup. I would say I would have a bowl of meat and twice the amount of water to make sure it got flushed. So yeah.
Really good idea. It's a really good idea.
So it's really important. And when you are like, you can run whatever you want, but the minute you see them pick something up that they can be hazardous, like poop or just filthy, walk away and march. It sounds crazy, but you are giving one heck of a statement.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to pull the dog, but it's the energy.
See, I was just going to say, this comes back to energy again, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, we must do a whole episode on energy and how animals read energy. I know that we've touched on it a couple of times, and it's just absolutely fascinating. So with the animals, the other thing that I picked up on from what you were saying was to reward the good. I think so much of this can be learned and transferred over to our primary schools, to how we teach our children and what we teach our children at home as well. This is all stuff that I'm conscious of, of my son learning, how to be an individual, but then also how to fit in, how to socialize. Now, this is the thing. So for people watching,
sorry to interrupt. Right. That is something, when you see the animals do something they're not allowed to, say they want to steal the meat from the countertop, you got a couple of ways you can respond. No. Well, they'll take it because they like to play around. But that's also a way, when you just let them get spooked for 1 second of your voice, and then just keep that energy in that frequency of no, and wait. And if your dog is not used to get reprimanded with the energy, they're going to test you. And it could be you have to hold it for a half hour or an hour. And every single time they try to move on, and that short bark-like response. And if they do it behind your back, there's an easier solution. Put the most loudest stuff on that countertop that when they jump, it creates such a loud noise. Usually they come to you like they're scared. Don't react to it. Don't say anything. They learned a lesson. I've read about dogs went into the garbage and the owners put something that was really loud on the garbage bin. They had to keep it there for 2-3 days. Never went into the garbage again. They had associated the loud sound with the garbage bin. And if you restart to respond, they will get afraid of the garbage bin. But when you don't respond at all, they'll associate it with it, but then they're not going to see that garbage bin as a bad thing, because they will still be able to stand next to it. But the minute the brain goes, I'm going to get it, cell memory, I'm not going to go there. So that can be very beneficial.
Yeah. And, I think the energy thing is really tricky for people because rather than being assertive, they tend, and, me included, you don't know how to find that happy medium. So you know that you need to be strict, but we go straight for aggressive because we don't know what assertive is. So rather than that energy being words, we're not actually using our energy. We're using the words. We're using, it's a really
we are conditioned. Humans are conditioned that once someone gets angry, they're like, oh my God.
So and this is it. So we think that we need to make them afraid to stop doing something, but that's not the point, is it? So it's really tricky
to give them a
understand
shocking moment, because when they walk in nature and they forget to listen to a possible predator, and they escape, they'll never forget that sound that comes. Oh, that's a warning for the predator. I gotta get out of here. And in a way, if you mimic that on your home situation or your walk.
Yeah. And it's also about and it's the same with us. Again, everything comes back to human beings and how similar we are in terms of our behaviors, and our energy and how we use our energy. They're just smarter than we are. But
we can learn from the animal.
100%. And you know what? In a way, we were given animals in order to learn these things because actually it might be easier for us to learn about assertiveness from an animal so that we can be assertive with each other and be truthful and honest and communicate our authentic selves than it is to learn that in a classroom or to learn it off our family members or
or a dog like Benji
in some kind of formal way. So I really do think that animals, sorry, say that again.
Or like dogs like Benji.
Dogs like Benji. 100%.
He was a master teacher. I had someone, she was not afraid of the dog. She knew exactly how to handle them.
Yeah.
And he managed to show them.
What a special dog. What a special
dog.
If
they when they would standing in front of them, and sometimes he just tested. He kind of, and I've had people that were literally like, oh, really? And he would like, okay. cuddle up, this is okay. And then you have those that say have tons of experience. He would do the same, but their heart backed down. He would keep lunging. He would lean into them. Some were open. I said, just stand there. Now from within your energy, make yourself tall. And in that energy, step into his area. Just push forward. You don't walk forward, but push forward. They did. And he would sit in front of them. And they could keep a treat he wanted. He would not get on top of them. So that's energy again.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to put it out there, if there is anybody who is a child psychologist or a teacher or works with children, please get into contact with me, because I'd really love to do some videos on children as well, and what we could be doing differently, what we can learn from what's worked in the past, what's not worked in the past, what way we could look at things now. Because again, I see so many, I just saw it this morning and it made me so angry. In fact, it made me just hop out of bed, because there was this father who was walking across the green area in front of my house, and he was shouting at his children, and he clearly was physically aggressive with one of his children, because she was saying that he pushed her out into the road. And I got so angry, and I really do struggle with parents, and I can understand how you can get angry with your children, but there is another way. And if we're using our energy and we're being assertive and we're looking at our children that actually they don't know how to do these things, they don't know how to live in the way that you want them to live.
It's
your responsibility to lead them, to be a role model, to help them to learn. They will push boundaries. And you know what? When my son started pushing boundaries, I was like, well done for pushing boundaries. It showed that he's got that fire in his belly. They have to push the boundaries so that they know where the boundaries are. And we have to be calm. We have to be that that emotional regulation for them. Who else do they have? So it's just so important. Again,
I feel when a parent loses it, starts screaming at their children, they are already out of control.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean control in a negative controlling way. But a lot of these children are on their path to teach them something animals also teach people.
100%. Yeah, completely agree. It does. Everything comes back to the energy.
And when a child finds out they can get under your skin because you're not good with controlling or using your own energy, you're in for a treat.
Yeah. And, I'm not saying to use stars, although there's lots of kids that love a star system, and it's rewarding the good and it works for a lot of kids. But if you are in a situation like me where you have a child who is diagnosed autistic, you learn very early on how to manage your own emotions, because if we're not regulated, they have no chance of being regulated. So, and also the more wound up that I get, the more wound up that he's just a reflection. And most, most, if not all kids are a reflection of their parents' emotional stability.
It's the perfect comparison. And it's a child. How animals are working with their humans.
Like, they haven't yet learned that I know, and being rational is important and good. It's a healthy thing to be rational, but it's that over analyzing. It's not knowing when to stop. It's not knowing where we're causing ourselves damage by thinking things over to the extent that we're, you know, making ourselves unhealthy in that way, and
It's
causing
when
mental
I
health
learned,
issues.
I've had someone that had also a problem when her autistic son wanted something, she could not stop him. She was taught, pull him away. I said, sounds crazy. How do you block an animal for going to a place where he isn't allowed? You block him with your energy. Don't say anything. Wait. And when they get attention, you can say, mm-mm. A lot of kids need that to learn the boundaries. So, and that's my personal opinion. Those kids are on the earth to teach us how to use our energy, our powerhouse. Because when you find that out, you can, without any conflict, without them being downgrading, you can put those children on a path that everyone thinks a autistic kid cannot do that. They can do very well. But that's what the controlled system does. Teaching everyone how you are allow everyone to step over your boundaries.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is as well, Vera, is that I see clients on a one-to-one basis who have been damaged by that process. And I am, and the thing is, it's not necessarily something that everybody's going to agree with, but I'm very conscious of understanding my son's boundaries and talking to him about his boundaries and how he can either overcome those boundaries, or how those boundaries are really important for him and really important for him to stick to his boundaries, you know. And the majority of the time his boundaries are absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with them, you know. If you, I'll give you an example, and I know that we're coming off the animals here, but you know, it's something that I wanted to touch on anyway.
Tell you a little secret.
What?
Talking about how children set up the boundaries in their energy is completely synchronized with animals.
It is. I do feel that.
So it doesn't interfere with animal talk at all. Because what we can learn from animals, those children can benefit from it. Yes, it's a child. Yes, it's a human. But the way they process info, the way they handle energy, guys, it is so down to earth, so connected to the universe, so connected to the natural way of living.
Mm.
When you are able to tap into that, which you are doing with your son, you're gonna literally secure a absolutely marvelous, great future for that kid.
I hope so. It's difficult, you know, having children doesn't come with a manual, but you do what you can. You know, and I've learned from my past, I've learned from my childhood, you know, about boundaries. Well, not having any boundaries for a start. So, you know, so I had to learn those boundaries as I grew up. So, you know, it's so important that our children understand their boundaries. And what I love about autism is that a lot of autistic people, you know, including children, have a very clear sense of what their boundaries are. And, you know, I'm just so in awe of, and I just think it's incredible. And I think it's something that we should be putting up on a pedestal and saying that's what we want to work to achieve, not repress it and suppress it and push it off to the side. You know,
Because when you respect those boundaries, it is, say, the one moment you can walk up to him, give him a big hug. Seconds later, okay, no hug, please.
Mm-hmm.
Because they need their own individual energy.
Yes.
And that's with animals. You train the animal. Oh yeah, they have to be socialized. So every stranger needs to pet them so they can learn. No, the animal tells you when they are ready to be petted. Because if your energy is wrong, do not touch the animal. And that I see so much similarities. I have autism spectrum.
Yeah.
And the only thing on earth that really understood how I operated were animals, cats, dogs, horses. They knew.
Yeah.
I felt safe. If they would have put me in an area that I had to completely live under amongst animals, I would have been a completely different person. Oh yeah, I would have loved my parents to be on that land in full nature with all the animals around. I wouldn't have had, probably not had ADHD, PTSD, and all kinds of other traumas.
Yeah.
So it does so connect with children with special needs, and especially the autism. If you want to understand your child, how their energy system works, start to explore how animals in a natural environment interact with each other. And yes, sometimes it does happen that one that's out of control just gets pinned down. It looks horrible for everyone. And then after a while, that dog calms down. And yes, because they're still in that. But it's not to control them, it's to help them to calm down. And sometimes a kid with autism just needs a loose without touching. Keep them in that boundary. Just protect that boundary of them. Help them protect. I did it with a child. Oh, you're going to get another guy. What? I was just, and that kid was very autistic. Started to act out. She couldn't handle what was going on with all the people and all the whole visit. I had my arms around. She could still move around. I was not. How do you say, pinning her down that she could not move, because then they start fighting. I held them in my energy, and eventually that child started to calm down, and I explained why it was important she did not do what she was wanting to do, which was dangerous around hot pots.
Yeah.
And that kid completely calmed down. And when I was there, her parents were like, she's never like this. But I've been always connected to animals. And I tapped into that energy. I just put a protection circle around, and then she calmed down. Pulling.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I mean, we got the dog because it was really for my son, to you know, so that he had something. He doesn't have any siblings, to you know, just to so that he didn't feel on his own, so that he could feel safer, that kind of thing. But it kind of backfired a little bit because we got a puppy, and obviously the puppy was very forward, very in your face. She was a bit mental, if I'm honest, when we got her first. But now, and she's 3 this month, it's only now she's understanding his boundaries and he's understanding her boundaries, and he's more assertive with her, and it's been a very natural relationship that's built up, and it's beautiful now. Such a beautiful relationship. It was worth waiting. It was hard, but it was worth waiting, because I just felt so strongly that they would help each other eventually. It would happen, and it is happening, and it's beautiful to watch.
Your dog's reactions, the way it responded, helped you understand your child.
Yeah.
So that learning period to get the dog where he's now, or she, where she's now, was needed for you to understand more about your child, energy boundaries, and that the doggy was so the pup was so in your face. I see literally that was your child screaming for sport.
Oh, okay.
Your son wanted the attention. He needed attention. The more you were able to see what the dog needed, helped your kid go up. So that leveled. So literally the dog we were saying, inside he is screaming for this and this attention. And eventually, because you were able to get the dog in line on an energy level, and then all things just started to
fall into place. But it's interesting, because he could see that Rosie became closer to us, because particularly me, because I'm the one that generally feeds her and walks her and looks after her and things like that. So all the practical things. So he could see you have to put in the time, rather than avoiding her and hiding in your room and things like that. You have to give her the time, and then she rewards you for it. So it's a really good lesson, not just for him, but for any adult. And I think that's how they help people with anxieties and depression and mental health conditions as well.
I cannot wait till I got my kitty.
Oh yes, you're getting a kitten. Tell our viewers about your kitten.
Well, in March I lost she was about probably 16 years old, so I had to let her go. And about a couple of weeks ago, I got a text message from someone carefully checking if I would be ready for another kitty. Well, if I would have had the time, or the moment was there the day my cat has passed away, because usually I already had another one, because I need animals in my life. They pull me out of shit. They keep me more stable. And then I said, well, yeah. So I'm going to get a new kitty, and it's going to be gifted, thankfully.
New tabby.
And then the beauty, because the minute I laid eyes on the kitty on a photo, I saw the eyes and felt the energy in that kitten from the cat I had to let go.
Oh, beautiful.
So I literally had to have a little talk, because it went in reality way too quick. She was not even gone. She probably was already connecting. She left the physical world, or it was literally like she left her body and she went in. So I literally had to tell that little kitty, listen, you get a new lease of life. You're in a kitty body now. You're really growing up and have a new, beautiful life ahead of you. And I could feel the energy calm down.
Oh.
It was literally like, what the heck happened? That's how sensitive animals can be. And when you start explaining them,
Yeah. Yeah.
as if you're talking to a 6 through 8 year old child, and give them the time to understand, they will.
Yeah. Gorgeous. I think that is a good place to end the video, actually. It's nearly 56 minutes.
Yeah, you thought it would fit in only 30 minutes, but
I know. Well, we were going so well, so I thought, well, we'll keep going. And then we started talking about the children, and then I got really passionate. It all went on that way. But it's definitely
that was meant to be. That was meant to be
Yeah,
because
I
it's
feel that.
so in sync, animals, and especially these autistic
It's been on mine for a while.
labeled kids
Yeah.
as animals.
And, anybody who works with neurodiversity, works with children with neurodiverse conditions, or with adults even with neurodiversity, I'd love to have you on the channel. I'd love to talk to you about what we can learn from, I don't know how to do the best words to use, but look, the thing is, I've been thinking about, what this channel is really all about. And where I'm going with this is I want to highlight people, normal people. I want to highlight the people that are in minorities in society, or that we have, struggle with discrimination, or struggle with people understanding where they're coming from, because they're classed as being different, but they're really not different.
Hammered down by society.
Hammered down by society. And I really want, I want people to have a platform, whoever you are, and obviously, I'll be looking to relate everything back to, mindfulness and what we can learn, and self-help, and what I've learned about reflexology and energy and how it flows and all of those types of things. And I've got an amazing gentleman who's coming on Sunday that I'm really looking forward to speaking to. And he's an autistic man, and he's been on national television looking for love, and he's looking for love at the moment, and he is just incredible. And there's so much. I met with him yesterday, and I just have a massive big long list of things that I want to talk to him about. And he's incredibly intelligent, and he is a writer, and he's an artist, and he's got such an amazing full life, and he has incredible coping mechanisms that he's learned from a very young age. And some of us had to learn coping mechanisms in particular circumstances or traumas. We really have had to learn. In a lot of ways, we've had to mature as young people, and then in other ways we're still quite naive and learning, and I see, and I tell my son all the time, son, the behavior that you see in the children that you are either in school with, or that you see in different areas of your life, when we grow up, those behaviors don't necessarily go away a lot of the time. So really what we're looking at, and I include myself in this potentially, and it's just a talking point, is we physically grow up into adults, and what we're considered adults, and we're considered that we can take now responsibilities and things like that. But really, emotionally, we're still very young and very much learning. And there's just so much that we still need to know about life and about each other. So rather than looking to celebrities to learn a particular skill, or to learn how to be more emotionally resilient. Let's look at each other. Let's look at each other's skills. Let's look at what each of us has learned and come together and learn from each other. I just don't see why it has to be such a big deal.
I feel it's important to get out how autistic children there's a big misinformation, because a lot of people have been conditioned to believe a kid with autism is dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it like this because, first of all, I am autistic. The 3D system don't understand me, because I can be completely coherent, know exactly what I'm talking about. And the minute they start feeding me questions that is pinning me, literally, I cannot handle it.
And Vera, honestly, why should you? Why should you handle it? And why should our children deal with that?
They see the word autism spectrum.
Yeah.
And they expect to see someone in front of them. I don't know. You got to tell me. I'm dumb. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to bite my tongue because there was a word coming through.
But
then you had to bleep that word out.
So, I mean, the thing is that those of us who don't have a diagnosis doesn't mean to say that we're not autistic, in some respects. I know a lot of adults now are being diagnosed with autism.
What if the autism label is just because some just don't understand us, because we we operate on such a different level. We are so connected to energy. We feel energy. And they label that as autism. But when you tap in to the energy of an autistic human being, and I'm keeping it completely general, autistic human being, you're feeding that person with confidence, information. You're telling them they are allowed to be on Earth instead of what now is being processed. Autism. Oh, you got autism? Oh, then you're all the way down below. And the only work they are capable is that boring production work where you can sit all day, because that's what they can handle in the work business.
Yeah. And the thing with autism, and because it's a spectrum, you have such different abilities across a massive scale. So you can't look at one autistic person and say, oh, that's going to be the same as that autistic person. It's so incredibly different. And and I've definitely, we have to stop putting people into making individuals fit into a criteria that is unrealistic. We have to stop doing that. It just doesn't work. So
I feel the best thing, if you don't know how what type of level that person is, just breathe and watch their energy. Or is their breath like this? Then they are completely under stress, even though it appears to be completely calm. When their breathing is like this, they're under pressure. Step back. You are too close. When you walk to someone that is so sensitive and they start to do this, respect it and step back. That's the boundaries you are teaching your son. respect that boundary. And that could be that boundary is set at a yard or a couple of feet or maybe even on the other side of the world. That someone is thinking about that person in a bad way and they feel it, but they don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
It's that touchy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I've also written down free will. I mean, that is a whole different recording video by itself as well. So look, we've got so much more that we need to talk about, most definitely. Vera, thank you so much. We just get off on a tangent, but it's all relevant. It's all relevant. And you know, it's
And we
all,
didn't think before we started video it
we
was
couldn't
going to
remember
turn
what we
out
were
this way because we were so low on energy before we started until we started talking. We felt the energy go up.
Yeah.
And then we went live, and all of a sudden, we're an hour in, over an hour on.
Yeah, nearly, an hour and 6 minutes.
And that's what I think that's also important that people know that when you're feeling low and you start talking with like minded people about
Yeah.
subjects that hit you both, instead of being like, oh, can I go to bed? I got a headache. And then you start talking with like minded people.
And it lifts us up. So, yeah, absolutely. People, join us. If you're viewing this, join us, like, subscribe, share. You know, anybody who is of the same mind as us, you know, we want to learn together ultimately. You know, that's what we're here for. We've got more people, you know, lining up to be interviewed and lots of great conversations that hopefully are going to lift your spirits too in the same way that they do ours. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Vera. And
You're welcome. And thank you for allowing me back on and with the uplifting energy because I'm
well, you know,
do my
animal
kitchen.
talks are proving really popular actually. So we were talking, weren't we, before we came on air? We don't feel the need to stop them, so we're going to keep going with them. And we've got horoscopes tomorrow on your channel. So do you want to say what your channel is?
Well, it's in the writing, but it's Raven Wolf Star Readings. So when you look up Raven Wolf Star Readings, you'll find my channel. And when you want to have proof that my dog is, at the moment, most videos are about my animals. But yeah, that's
what we need to do as well. Yeah, perfect. We need to stream the horoscopes on my channel as well. So we need to work out how to do that so that they're on both channels.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. You can tell me off air what I need to do.
I'll just download it and send a link to you.
Okay, perfect.
Or I can make you, there's a way that you can download it yourself without doing.
Let's do that and make sure that we're doing it on both channels. And if you wanted to put these interviews on your channel as well, let's look at doing that. But for today, an hour and nearly 9 minutes. I never thought we were going to talk for this long. Vera, have a lovely afternoon.
Same to you and everyone else. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.